Hey, hey there.
Hey
Hi.
there.
How's everyone doing? Welcome to Sandbox Mode. This week we're talking about intentional creativity, how we resist the pressure to chase every new trend, spend money we don't have on tools we barely use, and say yes to every opportunity that comes our way. Sometimes the best thing you can do as a creative is just chill. So let's start with something a little real. Tech moves fast, but that doesn't mean we have to chase every new wave. So VR, AI, spatial computing, and you feel like you're falling behind by not just being obsessed by every single thing that's pops up on Twitter or everything single newsletter you get. But what if not caring is actually a strategy? So, my first question to you, Reg, would be how do you personally decide what to learn or explore versus what to leave alone?
It's a really good question because I've been really bad at that. I typically am one that jumps from a thing to a thing. I love half finishing tutorials. That has been my trend for about 5 to 10 years. I mean, honestly, in the last year, I started to more seriously by putting the end goal first. And so a lot of that is around just being able to focus on what that final project is, what it could be. Um, right now, for me, that's learning VR and learning mixed reality and spatial computing, and diving into that rabbit hole. There's so many different applications that I can get
Yeah.
into. I started off with Unity and getting in more into game design, and then started messing around with 3DS, and then got into like data visualizations. And so, like, you get into these avenues, and you start to like kick off on something. And it always takes this bit of I would honestly say there's a bit of mindfulness to kind of bring it back around to the original
Yeah.
aim. Always questioning whether or not that still holds value, but at the same time, uh, but always being willing to challenge that thought, right? So, uh, a lot of times I journal and kind of write these thoughts down, like this is what I'm trying to build out of this space. And then as I learn more and build more context around that end goal, uh, I end up putting it in tandem with that original aim. So sometimes that original aim might need to tweak a little bit. Um, and sometimes the context might need to be kind of recentered. And so there's this sort of dance between uh, what I'm intending to do and what I'm actually doing, because the more I learn, the more context changes over here, right? Um, and I'd say that's been especially true of my most recent endeavor because learning these different platforms has now taken me back to the original idea of saying, okay, now that I understand more of this landscape, does this landscape now fit with what I'm trying to complete? Or do I find something else here that's giving me more excitement?
Yeah.
Sometimes that excitement actually looks like fear. So it is like, is there more fear? Is there more excitement in this? And then just kind of like trusting my emotion with that. So it's kind of a roundabout answer, but if I had to truncate it all to just one small ball here, it would be to record the intention
Yeah.
in some way, and then always kind of look back at that intention as you're building more context around the goal.
Nah, that's a good point, and I agree with that a lot. Like me personally, I'm an explorer, and like I think in another life, I would be a curator. I would run a museum. I would be a librarian or something like that, just because I'm interested in so many things. And I see like the value of so many things. Like I listen to a ton of different music genres. I like enjoy a ton of just different styles of art. And then mentally where I go, and since I was a kid, it's like, well, I want to do that. I want to do that. And I'm just hopping from thing to thing to thing to thing. Like I want to do that. I want to try that. I want to try that style. I want to pick that up. I want to try that skill. So, you start going down like so many different lanes. And I think that's been a struggle that I've had in the past. And, like you said, with mindfulness and just really just thinking more around that intention as I've gotten older, forcing myself to do. It's like, okay, Jared, you can enjoy that subject. You can go appreciate that subject. But guess what? You don't have to do that subject. You don't have to
Right,
know how to
right.
do that style. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's something that I've been learning. And on this topic specifically around technology, I think For instance, I did that with like the VR AR space where you went for the VR AR space, and I think you had more intention and more desire into that space or like interests. And I think for me, it
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is a new piece of technology. And it's like, but am I that interested in it? I think
Yeah.
that's what changed me from like, okay, I think I'm interested in this type of stuff here, but I'm not in full and all into that space. I think I purposely said a little bit, said no. I was like, I'm not going down that path, but enjoyed watching you pursue and learn more about that path.
Yeah, no, I think putting those guardrails up is tough, right? If you're a person that enjoys learning, you're down to dabble in all of it,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and that's that. I think you and I have that in common. Just sort of this open mind towards growth and being a forever learner. There's always something new to pick up. It is one of the beautiful things about tech, the tech space in general. Putting those guardrails up is great. 'Cause even though I do believe being a generalist is
Hmm.
the best way to kind of go about things at this point, especially in the age of AI. Being a generalist in everything is going to end up being counterproductive. And so picking those like two or three barrels to kind of dive into and then going deep into those niches is something that's worth exploration. And then kind of when you figured it out, it's the commitment, right? You go through this sort of roller coaster of the beauty and novelty of learning these new
Hmm.
skills, and then you get into this point of like, oh, this is tough now. I'm into like these like little nuanced pieces of this
Yeah.
craft that I wasn't anticipating. The head banging against the wall section, and these sort of come into like, oh, it's all starting to click together. Like, all right, now I understand this. Do I go and learn a new novel thing, or do I commit to the ups and downs of learning this niche as it grows? I think that's just the journey of it. All of this stuff is evolving at a rapid pace, and you just have to choose your own pace and commit to your own sense of discovery.
Yeah. I mean, with that, have you ever felt any FOMO from watching other
Yeah.
creatives jump into new tools?
Man, yeah. Whenever I want to be depressed, I jump into LinkedIn because I'm following all of these people who have really mastered the craft and now in the dawn of all of this artificial intelligence, they're like making cooler things faster, right?
Hmm.
And there's a part of me that wants to jump into the AI race of it because yeah, I'm learning the foundational knowledge of Blender right now, and that's great. But I can also jump into Meshy and start making these 3D models out of text prompts, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to modify them, but I can make them, and I could become that much better at prompting and 3D models, right? And so the question for me then becomes going back to that initial intent. Am I more eager to create products, or am I more interested in the craft of this
That's a good point.
technology?
Yeah.
And that sort of question, I think, allows me the flexibility to decide where I want to build my shortcuts and where I want the deep dive knowledge. And that's been really big for me going forward. It's been, to answer your question, I get FOMO around a lot of the shortcuts that I see, and it allows me to say, okay, like, do I want to do no code
Hmm.
websites like Webflow or Framer, right? Or do I
Hmm.
want to get deep into some HTML, CSS, JavaScript? In that case scenario, I'd rather do no code stuff, right? But when it comes down to like 3D modeling, I want to know the nitty gritty. So like splitting hairs in that way allows me to kind of overcome the FOMO and decide where I want to place my eggs.
Yeah. I mean, that's an excellent point and an excellent like because we make so many mini decisions around that, where it is
Hmm.
like, is this about me being solid within the craft, or is this about me just moving forward? And
Yeah,
I make those decisions all the time too, because I
yeah,
think a lot when it comes to like, I do enjoy just making products, and like I think like that's where it's like I'm just gonna make this thing, but I also really enjoy the craft of design and art and stuff like that. So I invest a lot of like my time and energy in getting better. Or even like, I'm partnering with a dev and he's like, hey, we can just throw this into, tempo and do that. But I'm like, no, but I really want to make the craft of this design really good. So I want the time to spend to really like make this look great. And, part of it for me also comes with I enjoy the craft. I want to get better and better as a designer, as an artist, visually. But then the other part for me is too, I think the craft of the design can be our differentiator with this product.
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah.
I think that's really where there's some of those micro decisions for me come with. And sometimes it is stuff that I like, but also sometimes it's like, okay, I also see a differentiator when it comes to like the business of the product or the product actually being good. Hey, if we could make a standout site or a standout brand or a standout look and feel of the app, maybe that's going to do better than a competitor or something.
I mean, I think about your love of fonts, right?
Hmm.
Like I cannot. You sent me so much around font, and typefaces and the whole night, and it's
Yeah.
not my thing. And I'm like, okay, I have to respect that that's your thing. I think about the human condition and how attuned we are to stories.
Hmm.
I think that that's the big difference between the shortcuts we take and the crafts that we master. Uh, I think about like movies that I watch that I love, and then you go into the DVD commentary. I might
Hmm.
be dating myself, but if you go to all
I
the
miss
behind the
DVD. We
scenes,
need more DVD commentary. I
man, we
used to
need more
love watching
DVD.
DVD director's cut commentary,
Yes,
everything.
man, there's story there. There's stories behind the stories that like add so much depth, right? And I think that that's something that's missing out of this rush behind the shortcuts. Like, yes, you can make a movie faster, you can make models faster, you can make beats faster, you can like type a sentence and you got a whole song. My daughter's making songs with AI, right? And it's great. The songs are catchy. She loves them, and I'm like, all right, well, talk to me about it. She's like, all right, I like threw a couple of words together and I did it, right? And the depth behind what an artist goes through. I went to a show last night and there was a guitarist that's like, yeah, y'all might not like this song, but this is about my dead grandfather and I miss him, right? He talks a little bit about his grandfather, and then like when he's strumming the tunes, you're like, you're now conveying this emotion through the vehicle of the
Yep.
craft, and I think that's irreplaceable. So I think just to kind of round this out, one thing I'm very interested in moving forward is platforms like Twitch, platforms like Discord, where you see these people, you see artists that are mastering the craft
Yeah.
live, right?
Yep. Yep.
This is where I am, and now I'm creating it with you, my audience, and yeah, here goes the product, and I could have made this product in 15 minutes, right? Like I
Yeah.
could have been like, all right, make a thing, and here goes the thing. But the process behind it, I think that's the big differentiator between uh, what we as humans bring to the craft of art, right? We're not going to
Yeah.
escape the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. I'm in a similar place as you too, and thinking about even again now, I'm starting to share more of my music, but there's millions of things that are out there, millions of things you can listen to, things that you can do, or also you could use a tool and make something, and that's fun to you. And
Yeah,
more and more
yeah,
people are making and having fun. But I'm starting to like, let me go make more YouTube posts. Let me maybe go live and stuff like that. And doing it also just for me of just like telling the story of what I did or what I made. Like, let me tell the story of how I actually made this song or what was the inspiration behind it. It doesn't have to be anything long, it doesn't have to be anything drawn out. But I think that's also, as we're in a space with AI and also with just not even like AI, just better tools, period. We have better tools to create that makes it more accessible for more and more people. Similar to like, topic we're not gonna talk about, but like that Oscar winning film that was created on Blender. That's
hey,
more tools in people's hands. So with
yeah,
increased output, if you do want success in the form of fans or funds, figuring out how you can implement story behind some of it so that you can, so that there is a little more separation between your output versus some others output.
yeah. No, totally agree. I think I don't know, I've already said it. I'm about to repeat myself. Don't let me repeat myself. But I will say, I think part of this is also there's a teaching aspect to this as well, right? Uh, my wife and I kind of go back and forth about this because she sees me kind of practicing all of these things, and she's like, "All right, well, when are you going to produce?" And I was like, "That's a great question. There is value in producing as you're learning, and I have to own that. That's big. But at the same time, there's this. there's a beauty in the discovery of it all and the curiosity of it all. And so when I get back to the point of teaching others, then it's something that I want to pull from, and pulling from my experiences and learning ends up fueling the sort of engagement and excitement I have around sharing what I've learned. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a balance to be had there behind learning to produce, but also learning to share and learning to give, and learning to contribute to the wider community of discoverers.
All right, yeah. So when we came up with this topic, it made me go back and look at some of the bookmarks that I took from the book "Show Your Work" from Austin Kleon. Realize I also need to go back and read that book because these bookmarks are fire.
You said that to me. I read it. And I was like, yeah, this is hot fire. Thank you for that.
How long ago did you read it?
Man, a year ago, maybe two,
Yeah,
about two
I,
years ago.
they would pick it back up again. Like I'm looking at it now because I
You're
read
right.
this when I wasn't
You're right.
producing content, but now that I am making it, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this hits a little different. But
Yeah.
I mean, one of many, he says, audiences not only want to stumble across great work, but they too long to be creative and part of the creative process. By letting go of our egos, sharing our process, we allow for the possibility of people having an ongoing connection with us and our work, which helps us move more of our product.
Man, man. Yeah. Oh
There it
man.
is. Book club.
That's that's timely, man. That's timely. Uh, you spoke on this. I'm gonna try to bring it full circle here. You brought up when we came up with this topic, and when we came up with the topic, we were initially talking about this is our emerging tech topic, right? We were talking. So my experience here is that as I'm interested in AR, VR, and 3D development, I kept looking for jobs, right? I'm checking the industry, I'm checking the job post.
Hmm.
I'm like, everything that I'm seeing out there is uh, paying significantly less than what I'm making as a UX designer. And I'm like, hey, I thought this was supposed to be the next big wave. I thought this was supposed to be the next big thing. Why am I not seeing a lot of job opportunities out there? Why am I not seeing higher salaries for this? Where's the demand? Right? And after doing some research, it was a matter of like two things. One, the business value isn't proven yet. So a lot of times these are individuals that get hired out as individual contributors or freelancers, because if a company wants to actually dive into it, they'll do so in a short-term stint. There's not a lot of justification for a whole salary because they don't always have to work for it. Uh, and then the second thing is that because it's an emerging tech, then the onus is on the contributors themselves, the artists themselves, to kind of build their own career around it. There's less of this concept of a salary per se, and more of get your contracts, build your following, do your
Hmm.
online courses, partner up and collaborate with folks, create your own projects. It really is a sort of like build your own journey with this.
Yeah.
And many times that'll expound like kind of beyond what you would have gotten as a salary, but it's not a clear 9 to 5 out there for the emerging tech. And so it's a risk. It's a risk, and you got to be okay with that risk if that's what you're going to do. So to circle that back around with the show your work, it's a matter of not only just focusing on the output of here goes my game, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, not only the output of here's my song, here's my this, here's my that. It's the creation process. All in all, is that is the craft, right? That is the sharing. And I'm not there yet, right? To your point, it's like get on Twitch, get on Discord, get on YouTube, get on TikTok, right? Frame the product that you're making with the journey that it took to make it, and that ends up being the career, that ends up being the occupation. And that's kind of what I'm building towards.
Yeah.
That's what you're building towards, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you see. Like I went back and, there's, different artists or illustrators or animators or 3D artists that I've have followed for years on Instagram. Probably like, thinking back, it's like I probably followed this person for 7 years. And, you're checking out, and these are people that, were bold enough that showed their work,
Yeah,
and just seeing the different opportunities that come in front of them. It's like, oh, okay, well, this brand contacted me to do this sort of campaign. Also, and the other thing that I've loved about that is I've seen a lot of people that have been very consistent in their style, and people in brands and have come to them to, hey, we want you to make this the way you make it and bring
yeah,
that to this campaign.
They
Um,
don't know the way you make it if you're not showing your making process, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I mean, I think that's the lesson. That's the lesson for us within this topic. Also, is like pursue saying no to those some of those topics, but also showing
Man,
your work so that you can tell the story. You can get people interested in what you do, and you can make your own lane for yourself.
you hit me with that. I think about my favorite artist today, my favorite musical artists, and they're the ones that I stumbled across when they first started dropping mixtapes, right?
Hmm.
The Chance the Rappers of the world. Man, I loved watching his whole climb. One of the big reasons why I think Doechii is so big is that
Yeah,
people were messing with Doechii when she was just kind of like putting out stuff on
she's just on
YouTube.
YouTube talking about
She's
her
just doing her
life.
thing, right? Right. You think Issa Rae, same thing, right?
Yep,
Like you see, like when people
yep.
see the growth happening in real time,
I'm gonna
you
check for
really just
you just because that, like again, like Issa, it's like I've been watching you since the web series days. I'm gonna check everything you did just because I've seen your growth.
right, right, and to go back and to see that that breadcrumb trail
Hmm.
of oh, this is where you were, this is where you are now. It's not only encouraging, but it kind of creates this fan base that is continuing to sort of like root you on as you're inspiring others. And I don't know, there's so much value there. And when you start talking about emerging tech, I think it's the same thing, right? You mentioned Blender and Flow with the cat, and I'm like, hey, that was a huge rally moment for the folks in that emerging tech community because folks for years have been saying that this is something that can be
It's
done,
possible.
right?
It can
It's
happen. Like
possible, but
with
you,
Blender, we can do something big.
you're watching this platform, you're watching a software platform grow in real time, just like these artists, right? And so you end up like cheering it on and you want to be a part of that.
Let's talk budgets. Every creative has a graveyard of subscriptions they forgot to cancel. Or they may have heard this and they're like, oh shit, I need to look at that thing that I have not touched in years. So, what actually earns a spot in your toolkit, in the toolkit? What do we pay for that's generally worth it? And what did we finally let go? First question for you: what's a tool you regret subscribing to?
Got two in the first place for that. If I had to give it to one by here, I would say I'm gonna get a lot of upset fans here. Adobe.
Hmm.
Um, when I first started out in tech, it was the thing to have. Get your Adobe suite, get your Photoshop, get your this and that. And like I'm sure it's better now, but at the time, the license
Hmm.
for that, the subscription fee was so like bottom, like the read the fine print. It was so
Hmm.
fine print, right? You get one, you end up getting like eight, and then you try to cancel
Yep.
one. They're like,
Yep.
nah, nah, you're married to us now. You can't leave having to like another $300 into this, and then it goes the introductory price, and here goes to this, here goes to that. And I wasn't using any of it. I wasn't using it. Clients weren't asking for it. And, like it just wasn't the field I was in for UX. You know, it
Hmm.
was Sketch, you know,
Yep.
Omnigraph, Axure, right?
Yep.
Like it's
Didn't
felt
need
like I
any of those
started
tools.
didn't need any of the Adobe suite, none of it. I got it because it was the thing to have. My professor for at the time had it, and I was like, oh, this will be great. And no one was asking for
Yeah.
anything Adobe, right? And I just wasn't in the field that required it, and I didn't know it. So when I tried to get out of the contract, they're like, nah, sorry, to cancel this contract, you have to pay the full price. And I was like, oh, well, the full price is what I pay, right? Like, no, no, you pay the introductory price. Now you have to pay us like
Wow.
the big boy price to get out of it. I was like, so I have to pay like it was just so many hoops to jump through to try to get
Hmm.
out of it. I ended up having to like pay the whole thing or like stick with the contract for the rest of that time. It was just a hard contract to get out of for software that I never used. And to this day, it just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I've seen that they've kind of gotten better with their pricing models and the way that they offer things. And I'm
I
like,
wouldn't say, I wouldn't even say better. Like
I was
yeah,
trying to give them a
I've
bone, but
I've been able to stick on like a discounted plan for a while now. They just hit me up with like, hey, it's time. It's time for you to move to the full on thing. And even I use it here and there.
yeah,
And but jumping up to this larger price, I was like, okay, let me start looking again to see if I can like fill some of these gaps with some other tools. I think
yeah,
that's also really where some of the other creative tools aren't jumping at the opportunity to be a little less, because it's
yeah,
like the decision isn't your tool or no tool. Your decision is, am I getting enough from is this a better deal for me than Adobe? And remember, Adobe is 8 different products.
At
So
least,
yeah, it's like, yeah, eight to like 20 different
right,
products in the
right,
suite and with the
right,
mobile products. So
right.
yeah, it's tough.
If you're committed to the ecosystem and you know how and you have the need to jump between those 8 different products and or at least half of those products, right? The value is there, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But you really have to like dive deep into that space to understand how it all connects together and then commit to that. And then good luck finding clients that are like, I really want this done in Adobe, right? Because they're like, you're right. To your point, there are several other, at least really high quality platforms out there that can do what Photoshop can do, that can do what Lightroom can do. And debate me on it, but I'm not going back to Adobe. You might win something. You lost me, man. Uh, the other one that I kind of grappled with, my second place one, is just more personal. Was PlayStation. That
Okay.
PlayStation subscription is clutch if you are a gamer. But I found myself I dived deep into a game, but when I was getting the whole monthly 2, 3 games a month and to do this, I found myself forcing myself to do more gaming to justify the subscription, as opposed to just like, hey, let me just pay my $60 for the new game that I want and play the hell out of it and call it a day. And maybe this is old school of me, but it was there's a lot with the subscription model if you're a legit gamer. I That's fair,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh
that
yeah.
I'm a casual
Well, I
gamer,
mean,
so
it's
let me
easy
just
to
get my
get. I
feet.
mean, there's such immediate value when you look at it. You're like, I get this
Yeah,
for all this,
yeah,
but so the value is there for it, but it's whether you have the time to even invest to even use these games. It's like
yeah,
value's there, subscription makes sense, great price,
yeah.
but I'm not doing anything, and that's the thing. Going back to your life, like, what do I actually even have time for?
What do I have time for, man? That time gauge is huge, and I was devoting a lot of time to trying to justify a PlayStation subscription. So I remember when I canceled that, I lost nothing. I gained time, lost nothing more. And so that's those are my two. What do you got over there? What are your regrets?
Yeah. I mean, the only, and I went through, I mean, this was a tough topic. I was like, oh man, I got to actually go back and look at all these subscriptions again. It's healthy, but I didn't feel like I was in the mood to do it. I have done a pretty good job of purging, but I think something that always comes up for me, and this is more on the music side, is I mean, I mostly do music production. However, I always wanna, pick up pull my little DJ controller I bought years ago out of the closet and do some more messing around with Serato. But big thing, similar thing. I don't have the time, and I have not come to terms with that. I'm like, but I may just pull it out the closet and do it. It's like, no, Jared, you do not have the time right now. You have not organized your life enough for
Big.
this to be one of the hobbies that you have. But it's
That's
always
big.
like, it's just around the corner. But it's like, oh, cancel the subscription. If it's just when you are around the corner, Jared, go ahead and get the subscription.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does not matter. But if you're just picking it up every now and then for like you don't have the time for it. So and it goes similar to our last conversation. Everything and really one of the themes I think for us in this podcast is just being intentional, period, and managing your time and just being keeping it real with yourself.
Yeah. I think the biggest shift for me in the last year has been tracking my time around
Yeah.
my professional endeavors, at least, and that's been so encouraging. I do it in Notion, and I'm able to.
Hmm.
That's one, not to pivot too quickly, but is the one
No,
that
go
I
for it.
started paying is one I started paying for that has really brought a lot of value to me is Notion, because the one piece that they had, I used Notion as far as I could use it until they got me on the graphs. They're like, hey, if you want charts and graphs, you got to pay for that. And I'm like, all right, fair. And I implemented that, and I just started to chart, like, and it's not perfect, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm working on this at this time, and I put in an hour. All right, I'm working on this at this time, and I put in 30 minutes, and it's all about 30 minutes to an hour chunks. And I look back at that, and now I'm able to like create this narrative around how much more I worked on my goals this week compared to last week, this month compared to last month, and look at how I'm divvying up the time between the platforms that I'm invested in. And that sort of insight in a very accessible way has been priceless to me. It's really changed the way that I focus. It's changed the way that I'm intentional about my time, right? Notion for me is one that I'm going to keep around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, stuff that I would keep around. Where's my little list of what keep around ChatGPT. That's not going anywhere anytime
Nah.
soon. I mean, I am thinking
Well,
about investing in and trying some of the other
right, that's what I say.
tools.
Because there's AI, and then there's
Yeah,
the type, like then which model you want to subscribe to, and I think
yeah.
there's value in kind of jumping around and figuring out which one you like.
Yeah, like I've used it in so many. Like I'm looking into one of the more like coding tools and building tools and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And I
Hmm.
actually I think I was going down a path. Like I remember actually wrapping up my Chat GPT subscription maybe like 4 months ago. I downloaded all my data off of it. I started doing local LLMs, and like the local LLMs were performing really well. Like I downloaded some, and then they started making a bunch of like newer consumer updates that I was like, oh, okay, I actually like these. So let me take that back. I'm gonna reel that back. Because I could totally go down that path again. Like I forgot, I can't, I forgot I canceled the subscription and everything, and they announced something. I was like, okay, I'll give you another month.
I'm back. Right,
Uh,
right. We're good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a more niche one in like the production space. I subscribe to this tool. It's called TrackLib. So one of the things in music production is like the ability to sample. But the big thing is, as a small DIY person, like when you're sampling, you can't really release some of that stuff to some of the larger platforms. Like you can't release it to Spotify and stuff like that because you
Mm,
haven't gotten your sample cleared. But what's cool about TrackLib is you pay like $15 a month. You get everything on there. You It's cleared. You can share with the owner and stuff
nice.
like that. And I thought about it more from the perspective of I used to spend all my lunch money buying CDs when I was a kid. I used to spend a
Yeah,
lot of money on
yeah,
music, and I was just and when I think about it, I'm like, even though I'm behind on credits and all that, I'm like, I'm spending $15 for like music
yeah.
and music I can actually use to put out. So I mean, even though I'm not anything big, like I probably got like 3 monthly actives right now, listening to my stuff
Nice.
on Spotify. Hopefully,
Yeah.
it makes some stuff bigger, but I do like that. But actually, I mean, but I think that's something I'm committed to now. But I'll say there's probably no subscription outside of YouTube Premium that I am not up there that I'll cancel because I will never go back to ad based YouTube ever. I don't think I want to try it at all. It's a great subscription. I'm good with that.
I get into YouTube Premium during election seasons. It's more so
Yeah,
for
because you
my
gotta get.
kids. But like I'm fine. I'm fine getting like shooting past the commercials. I'm good with it. But then
Yeah,
like during election season, my kids are big into YouTube. These
yeah,
jokers start coming around talking about
they're
offshore drilling,
crazy.
and I'm like, yo, what are you? You're 10. Why are you? Why are you watching this?
Yeah,
Like Hillary Clinton is a scumbag.
yeah, yeah. The ads are political ad. Dude, we ended up getting Hulu because of that. We were good with Hulu for ads, and then like
Yeah,
when we started seeing Brian, like we're happy watching the show, and then like Brian Kemp was coming on our TV, like with like a
right.
shotgun. We're like,
Yeah,
what? I'm
yeah,
enjoying my life right now. Why is
right.
this happening?
Right. What made you think that you could interrupt this episode of Golden Girls? My family and I are sitting down watching with your vote for Brian. It was just, yeah. During and then when politics season is over, I go back. And that what? Curveball question for you. YouTube may be mine. I got another one, but what's another? What is a platform? What's a subscription that you toggle the most?
Toggle off and on.
Yeah, jump in and out of for whatever
Mm,
reason. While you're thinking about it, I was as you were talking about, I was like, what do
yeah.
I toggle? And you were talking about uh as you get deeper into a space, it's like, okay, turn this off for now, but then as it's around the corner, you turn it back on when you're ready for it. I've laughed with you about this a few times, but mine is a Todoist. Love Todoist Premium until I just have 500 tasks that I've been ignoring. I'm like, oh, I'm not using this for real. And then I get into like a really productive season, and then it holds its weight. And I'm like, oh, all right, let me turn it back on. It's $5 a month, whatever. I've had it on now probably for the longest, maybe about a good year. But I'm actually using it, right? I use it in tandem with Notion, and I kept thinking that it needed to be a either or, but really, Notion ends up being my place for larger products and larger projects, where Todoist is more of my like my quick hitters, and that works for me. I know I can build that same experience in Notion, but I like how separate it is. So
Yeah.
that's my toggler.
Yeah. I don't do well with toggle. I just overthink beforehand. So, but I am probably
Look,
gonna
it's it.
toggle. Yeah, I'm probably gonna toggle off and on though with like some of the creative AI stuff, like some of like the image stuff, the video stuff. I think I'm probably gonna toggle with
Yeah,
that stuff just
yeah,
because I don't need to use it enough or don't even have the time to use it enough.
yeah,
But also, it's more. I want to try those things. I think I'll try those things out and toggle a little bit more. But what I do is I'm actually a person that tries to find the lifetime deals, and I try to actually just pay for stuff for the lifetime and go against the monthly, or like I try to pay annually.
yeah, yeah.
And I just try and I end up like just I really aim for a lifetime. If I can get a lifetime, like I have a lifetime subscription to this product Endel, and it's been cool.
And that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I like Endel a
Yeah,
lot, and I got it like at a deal when they first were like probably like
yeah.
1 year in, and I was like, no, I really
I
like
like them.
this. Like I'm gonna, I mean, I think because
I remember the lifetime deal there.
yeah,
Yeah,
the lifetime was like the price of like a year or two, and I was like, "This is something cool in the background. I got some extra bread. Let's go ahead and invest in that lifetime." So I really want to just buy my stuff outright and be done, and I try to avoid, or I try to get the annual subscriptions,
yeah.
unless I'm not quite feeling it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm liking this.
That's me in Mid-Journey right now, where I'm
Yeah,
like, I love Mid-Journey just to kind of get in there and play around with it. I don't know if I should be paying for Mid-Journey because I'm not
that's
actually
where I'm at
leveraging
too.
it.
Yeah,
I'm not leveraging it. If I could just get a lifetime deal for Mid-Journey, I'd probably get it because I love messing around in there. But at some point, I want to actually like find some value.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you made me think of like some pricing opportunities for companies. One, if you're an ad-based company, crank up those membership advertisements during political season. That's a great
yeah.
opportunity. Two, because I was thinking as you're saying mid-journey, I was like lifetime for mid-journey. I mean, it's credit based, like that could be tough, but maybe it's like you're going lifetime with just a limited amount of credits. Maybe it's an annual or a lifetime plan for the dabbler. Like call the plan the
Yeah.
dabbler. You get about 25 to 30 generations a month. Something small where they could still upgrade you, but you're just a dabbler. Like,
I'm surprised they haven't gotten acquired. I thought for sure somebody was going to just scoop them up, but they seem to
well,
be sticking to their guns.
they have the most amount of Discord users in the world at a
Wow.
$10 a month fee, and I believe their company is only like 10 people. They're making money
Wow.
hand over fist on those memberships, but they're getting people are starting to get antsy on what they're doing because they just haven't shipped anything new in a bit, but they're making a ton of money.
Hey, good for them. Good for them. Solid team.
All right. Saying no is hard, especially when you're building, freelancing, or trying to prove something. But sometimes saying no is the only thing keeping you from burnout or from becoming someone you don't want to be. So, the power of saying no. When for you was the last time you said no to something and felt real peace about it?
We spoke earlier about diving into these sort of these craft professional crafts of our
Hmm.
lives, whether it's producing music, getting into mixed reality. I had a good filmmaker friend of mine that learned that I was doing Blender and kind of getting into this sort of creative space digitally, and they asked me if I would join their studio to do some VFX work, which can be done in Blender. Probably not the first platform that people would go to do
Yeah.
that. But the ask wasn't a whole lot. It's like, oh, I'm trying to do some CGI stuff over here, X, Y, and Z. I just started out with all of this, or at least just started taking it seriously. And I said no. I looked into it. We met and we kind of talked through it, and I said, this is fascinating, and I would love to be a part of it. You're a dear friend, and I want to support you however I can. But this just isn't the direction that I'm trying to take my learning path. I would have to deviate into this section. I'd have to like learn how to utilize these tools. I'm sure I'm going to find that they're better tools to use for this. And then I'm going to look up 2 years from now. And even though I've produced something, I'm still going to look back at this original goal, this original intention as an intention unfulfilled. And so I'm going to find myself back here with more context and more insight. Like it's not throwaway work, but it's going to be still me coming back around to the what if I had stuck to my guns, right? And so I said no. It was kind of a heavy-hearted no. I'm a people pleaser, and I enjoy making folks happy. And but I don't work with many friends. You're one of the few friends that I collaborate with. Then this is a great partnership. But in this case scenario, I really did have to go back to kind of bring it full circle to what I said earlier, go back to my intention and what I was trying to get out of this learning path, and that didn't align with that. And since then, they found another VFX team, and we got to talking about it, and she's like, hey. Uh, they are not great to work with, and like they're having a combative time, and I'm like, "Whoa, that could have been me. That could have been me having a combative time,
Exactly,
right?"
exactly.
So like now that relationship exists professionally as colleagues where we can kind of vent to each other about the space, and I can give her my insight. I can give her advice based off of what I'm learning in the space, but it's not a direct correlation. And I like where we landed. Our relationship is intact. It didn't become muddied by our professional endeavors, and they're interested in what I'm doing. I'm interested in what they're doing. I walked away with a lot of peace from that. It was good.
Yeah. I say for me, it's logos. I
Mm,
started going down the path of learning how to design
I was,
logos.
yeah,
I have logo books. I love logos. I love looking at logos. I just love it. I love the
we all
craft
do.
of it. And
Yeah,
yeah, I love the craft of it. I love the art of it. And I will do it, and I will do it for myself in my own projects. Um for instance, I had a client, and then I got, this is why I was learning while I was learning how to do logos. So I didn't want to take on the logo part of the client. I was doing the website and the brand work. So I hired a logo freelancer to do it. Excellent logo designer. He
nice.
made like, he probably made like 100 different high quality ones. Client probably chose number 98 on the list of just actually how good it was. And then the
Yeah,
client proceeded to screw it up more by like, because I think one of the things that happens is like when people see logos and you look at them in the vacuum, and it's just like, I'm staring at this logo. This one singular symbol needs to say every single thing about who my company is and what it is. And it's like, that's not the case. If you look at professional and great logos, they're not just, you can't just look at them all the time and just see a symbol and it's like, oh, that means exactly that. That's just not how it works. They are this more abstract mark that you'll remember from the rest of the things that's wrapped up in it, from the rest of the
yeah,
story about the brand, from the website, from all these elements. And I'm working with a client now, and she showed me the logo that she's having someone make, and it's one of the worst logos I've ever seen in my life. And she was asking me for advice on it, and we have a good relationship, so I was able to tell her like, this is why this is terrible. And again, she was just trying to like add too many items to it, just add element after element after element because she wanted to describe everything about her business. And I had a great conversation with her explaining like, it's just not how it is. And also, you are creating a brand new company from scratch. I think sometimes, people, when they're really starting from scratch at the very beginning, they try to invest way too much into the logo. It's like, hey, let's just choose a word mark and call it a day, and
yeah,
like get to work, get to work,
yeah.
focus on the company, and maybe come back later and make some changes. But I had the conversation with her. I was like, also, I'm saying all this and giving you all this great feedback, but I won't do your logo. I was like, I'm not going to do it because, the amount, I mean, if you look at really like professional large agencies and people see the price of those logos, and it's a lot because a lot goes into a lot of work that most people don't see or don't value to really understand. It's like, it's just that. It's like, hey, just like, my logo designer friend that I had work on that project, he made about 100 of these things, had to tell the story,
Yeah.
had to convince the client. So it's a
Yeah.
lot. So especially when you're working with like small businesses, like the amount of money you should be paying a logo designer because of what you as a client maybe putting that person through, it just doesn't equal out. So yeah, I love logos, love my logo books. I bought a logo book like 3 months ago just because I enjoy the craft of it. Only
Yeah.
will make them for myself. Not unless someone's fully bought into just getting what I give them. I will never market myself as one. I will only make them for myself and have fun with that.
It's a craft in and of itself. And the hardest part about freelancing is that clients don't tend to understand how separate so many of these different crafts can be.
Hmm.
And for as much as I preach about being a generalist, there are some things that will naturally grab one's attention, and then other things that are in the peripheral. And you might be able to touch on some of those peripheral aspects, but it's also the responsibility of the freelancer to educate the client around what's in your wheelhouse and what's not in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky dance, right? Because you want to get paid.
Yeah.
You're worried that, oh, because I don't do a logo, I won't be able to get this deal because now a logo is a part of the website design. I'm like, kind of, like a little bit. And so I think that that's tricky, but it's just something that comes with experience to know what it is that you're willing to step your feet into. What do you want to step your toes into in order to land a contract? And what is just so not aligned that it doesn't make sense for you to even scratch at it.
Yeah. Um, Throwing a curveball as well. What I started thinking about is something that I'm recently starting to do. And again, it goes back to having like this librarian, this curator, this museum mentality as like, that's just who I am as a person. Trying to start saying no into all of the different art styles I may be interested in, or if I'm doing something, or like all the different types of music that I'm interested in, and just trying to move myself mentally out of the lane of being this librarian curator mind to no, this is the art that you enjoy producing, and really trying to go further down that lane. I want to
Yeah.
do more visual artwork. I've did it as a kid and just really want to start picking it up just because I enjoy it. But also it's like I see so much and it's like, oh, this stuff is good, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. And it's like, no, 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 what do you want to do that speaks more to your story? And like I go more further down that lane, because bringing back our earlier conversation around books I followed on Instagram, they've had a fairly consistent style over the years and have gotten really great at that style. And they've saw audiences come for that style, or saw business deals or brand deals come for that style. So I'm trying to take more of that mentality, try to let go of the exploration in what I create.
I I think that there is I was going to call it a hidden value, but maybe it's just
Mhm.
hidden to me because I don't do it as often as I should, right? There's so much value in networking in that way. If one isn't thinking about it uh, from the perspective of how this will benefit me. And that's usually how I approach networking, right? I'm like, oh, I don't feel like networking. I've already got the network I need. I'm done. But I want to go back to my Blender VFX thing. I would have loved to say I don't do VFX, but I know this person over here that does. I love their style. I love their professionalism. I want to link you up with this person, right? And that sort of karma, that sort of professional karma tends to come back around for that person to say, like, oh, well, I do VFX. I don't do game assets, but you should reach out to Reggie, right? And that sort of like that sort of uh, building and collaborative approach is one that I think ends up being the bread and butter of people that tend to work for themselves, right? I dabbled in logos as well, and I think I love the idea of making a logo. being a logo creator, but it
Hmm.
wasn't my bread and butter. I was like, oh, you know what? There's way like getting into the design of logos by understanding the brand and what they're trying to convey and their value statement and their mission and building it all out. It's just too much in the weeds for me. But there's somebody out there that lives and breathes logos, and if they're part of my Rolodex, and I can reach out to them and say, "That's not what I do, but this person does," then you really are this sort of like museum curator of like, "Oh no, that's not this
Hmm.
exhibit. Let me walk you over here down the hall to an exhibit that I know you're looking for. It can really deliver on your ask." I think that is probably the next step for me as we get into, just selfishly speaking, as we get more into uh, marketing and as we get more into these crafts. For
Hmm.
myself, I really want to make it an intention to build out my Rolodex for the things that I don't do,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
then be able to connect them as needed. That's
Yeah.
something I'm excited about.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is even part of our goal of making this is, we would like to develop more of like this sandbox mode community that
Yeah,
really is around, having just a deeper community of people that are makers, that do things, that are, do some of this stuff in the night hours.
yeah, yeah. You these crafts become our sort of our superpowers, right?
Hmm.
Our skill sets become our utility belts, our capes, our flight, our X-ray vision, you know. And when you first start out, there's this sense of like, this is mine, this is
Hmm.
my thing, you know, and nobody like I can't share it with anyone else because then they'll have it too, and then I won't be special anymore. I won't be unique because then I'll like if eight other people can do what I do. Who am I?
Yeah.
And there's just I think you get a little further into it and you realize that there's so much that goes around. There's so many opportunities if you have this growth mindset of adapting to the field, adapting to the market, picking up new skill sets, picking up new tools, and leveraging them in different ways.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in networking and collaborating in that way.
What this also made me think about of something that I could do better of is to become more project based.
Well,
Like, wrap the things that I want to do up into that project. I can't even remember what book I was reading. It was some art book, and they were just like, I'm gonna fumble it. I'll bring it up at another point. Well, now I'm gonna bring it up. I'll tell you what I remember. They were like, this artist was like, this is my blue movement. And
mm,
again, it was like everything fits within this theme of blue at this era, and all these
yeah,
projects that he did, fit within that. So if I'm thinking again around like, my own creativity or things that I may want to do, it's like maybe I can wrap that up into this theme. Like this
yeah,
quarter of music that I'm going to create, or like, digital design is going to be wrapped into this theme.
yeah.
And just giving it a little bit more focus, as opposed to just I sit down, what comes out of my head, and starting raw. And I think, becoming more project based will help me in saying no to all the billions and millions of interest that I have. And it's like, no, we're going to focus on this project for this week. And I think that's something that can personally help me out.
You say it's a project. I think that was a Love, Death, and Robots episode.
I've never even seen that show.
What? Oh man, Zima Blue. Check that out. Check Zima Blue
For
out.
real?
It's
Okay.
one of
It's definitely a
the
book I
best.
read.
All right, all right, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I confuse what I've read and
That
what I've
person
watched.
probably read that book where they're talking about
Hey,
this artist.
hey, check it out. Check it out. I'm gonna plug it. Zima Blue, Love, Death, Robots. As we start talking about the creative pursuit and AI is good stuff. Um, I'm gonna bounce one back to you. What's something that you have said yes to that you should have said no to?
Hmm. I mean, anything for that has just been. I said yes because I needed more bread, or I wanted more bread. That for me probably goes back to when I used to teach and do like workshops and stuff like that. Taking another class when I really didn't need to, or I mean, teaching another class when I really didn't need to. But I'm pretty good at I mean, I at in my freelance because spend most of my time focusing on my stuff. And like it's more of like, oh, okay, I'll add that one to the mix. And I've been able to do that, but we'll see how it goes because I'm gonna turn up the notch on doing more client work. Yeah, we'll see. How about you?
Client work. That's always the curveball.
Hmm.
I had someone that I knew in my immediate network that wanted me to redesign a website for their business, and they were a good friend. And here it goes, right? It's always a friend thing. They were a good friend, and they learned I was, a UX designer, and I could get into some web design stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. Let's do it. I drew up the contract, I drew up the scope of work,
Hmm.
and I should have known it was going to go south when they agreed to everything. Yeah, just like we sat down and you could kind of see this glaze come over his eyes. Like, I have no idea
What you're
what
saying, but I'm gonna say
what you're
yes.
saying. I have no idea what you're saying. What do you mean? Like a certain number of user testing sessions. What do you mean these are the wireframes? It was like to a certain extent you're like, oh, okay, like I just have to educate you to like my process and the web design process and everything else. And he said, okay, well, there's somebody who's doing this for me right now, and you'll be doing it instead. And that was it. That was it. So as I started working on it, uh, he kept putting me in touch with this person, and then I'm like reaching out to the person, and they didn't know that they were being replaced. And so so I'm reaching out to this person, I'm like, hey, I'm hearing that you have the pictures for the website. You have like the copy I need. You have like the photographs. Can you send those to me? She's like, why? What do you mean, why? And what's your job, madam? And she was like, oh, I'm the web designer. I was like, oh, well, I just got
I'm
hired
I,
to.
I'm the new web designer.
I'm the web designer. And then she was like, oh, well, is he not happy with my web design? I was like, have you not had this conversation with this person? And
No,
so apparently it was a part of
no.
my role to like inform this
And
person.
part of your job also is to fire the current web designer.
Right, right. Oh, it was one of those things like, listen, this seems like it's about to be a dramatic episode. And even though I could use the bread, I'm like, I don't think I want to like ruin your day. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure somebody came in with no type of qualms on doing that. Like, no, you're out, I'm
Yeah,
in, give me
yeah.
all the fouls, right? I was like, no, that's not how I want to do business. Good day to you. Good day to you. Don't worry about anything else. We're good. We're square. And then I just rolled out. And so it was one of those things that I should have just peeped from the beginning in terms of understanding the lay of the land, right? Because he didn't know how to get any of his own content. That was part of the reason that he was trying to get it redesigned. He was like, "Oh, there's one person's doing it, but I don't like the way they do it, so I want you to do it, but I need all of the assets." And so it just turned into
I
a
need
ma-
you to handle getting everything for me too.
it's like, sorry, sorry, good luck.
All right, quick rapid fire segment. I saw this and I wanted to show it to you. It's this product called Free Write, and basically they make like portable typewriters for 2025. And as a writer, and part of the brand is around being distraction free. So something that you can have on the go. It's not your computer, and they look cool. So wanted to just hear your thoughts, or have you seen this before? I think I may have showed it to you before, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
I see it. I want it right now. I want this in my life. This is all the things. I don't know if I want to strap. I don't know if I want to like strap it, but
Yeah,
I love everything about this. I'm a huge journaler. I love creative writing. This is something I would take to a coffee shop in a heartbeat. Give it to me.
yeah, yeah. I
I
think this
want
is
it
the
all.
one I saw first, and it was just like this. I just love the look of it. I love the old school mechanical keys. I love like the humps going on. It feels like a Nintendo 64, and I think it's cool. I mean, it feels like a Nintendo 64 and like a speak and spell. Just
You scrolled real fast just then, and would you pay $650 for it?
no, no. I'm
Okay.
not a. I think if I were a writer,
Yeah.
if I was like a for real writer and like getting paid to write and like I traveled and write, like yeah, I think I would pay for that distraction free to have something. Because even here now, I go across the room to the other side of the room if I really need to focus, or like sometimes if I need to like write a journal. I'm like, I can't write the journal on my computer right now. The computer is killing me. I gotta step to the other side of the room and do it like on my iPad or something.
Yeah. For that, I still paper and pen. I carry a notebook around,
Yeah.
but you drop the price. You cut this in half. You give me a nice deal. Yeah. Yeah. I'm there.
Cool. And then this is something for more of my world in the music world. This is a tool called Orchid, actually created Kevin Parker from Tame Impala, from one of my favorite bands. He made this. This is a tool for, creating and getting that initial inspiration for music. This one also, just the look and feel of it, I wanted to buy it immediately, just because it looks like an Atari. The website is so vibey. I love the website. And it focuses on like bass chords, give you a little effects, something like that. You do it in different keys, but just the look of it, I was like, this looks so good, and I would enjoy it. Now, for me, nah, I'm not buying this one. I don't leave the house too much for what this does. I have other little music gadgets, but this one is dope. There's probably a point and maybe when they're at V2, there's probably going to be a point in the future that I'll probably want to get it just because it looks so cool.
I love this as a supplement to another like instrument. Like if I'm already great with piano and I want this in my back pocket when I like going traveling or something, then yes, all day. But as my primary instrument, I'd have to say no. I'd have to say no.
Well, that's
It's
what and that's actually what he's made for. So I would show the video,
okay.
but check out the site. But basically, I think like the initial wording for it was like it's inspiration box. So it's
Yeah.
like it's to record the initial inspiration. You plug it in, and there's a lot of like, I mean, the music technology world is insane. I love it, and I've already spent a lot of money in it just because there's just so many gadgets just for music making.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Hey, love it. Love it.
all right, cool. Well, that's a wrap. So today it was about making space, saying no, saving money, ignoring trends. Hopefully, it gave you some permission to do less and trust yourself more. Um, you know, if you enjoyed the pod, leave a rating, subscribe. If you know someone overwhelmed by trying to do it all, send them this episode. And also, what's one tool you'll never cancel? Hit us up, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. See you later.